goal is to really help you understand, get a high level overview of what air pollution is from a health impact, what happens, how bad it really is it, and what some of the things that we have done, and also from a business perspective, I'd give you my background, and let me start off by saying I'm not an engineer also. I have no engineering background, not even an undergrad engineering degree. I come from a pure business background, and today I run the largest air quality engineering company with about 30 engineers on my team, and I talk to some of the biggest engineering heads of the largest hotel chains, of the largest hospital chains, and I sit with 500 engineers and I give lectures on air quality, which is scary. But as much as one thing I regret is, why didn't I study engineering? Like, why? I should have. I think I would have done even better now. But over the last 5 years of working in this space, I feel as if I've learned enough to be able to do justice to what I'm doing, and it's very, very rewarding. So talking about air, the first thing, the air quality in Delhi is one of the worst in the world. I probably don't need to say anything to you about that. You can see it nowadays in the winter time. There's enough media in every single newspaper talking about air pollution and how it's hurting us from a health perspective, and how Delhi is one of the world's most polluted cities. In fact, I believe this morning in the newspaper it said 3 of the NCR cities, Ghaziabad, New Delhi and Gurgaon, are 3 out of the top 5 most polluted cities in the country. So right here we are in a zone of 3 cities, which are 3 of the topmost 5 polluted cities of this country, are right here next to us. So the World Health Organization recorded PM 2.5 levels at an annual average of 153 micrograms per cubic meter in 2015. This was the last updated version. And that actually, 2015 was second to last, 2016 is the latest. 2015 called Delhi as number 1 in the world. In 2016, Delhi actually did not rank as number 1, but only because the methodology of the way they do those readings is slightly unique. Certain cities that never did measurements earlier were taken in, and in certain cases there was only PM10 that was measured, not even PM 2.5. So they weren't measuring all the parameters, and it wasn't a clear apples to apples comparison. Beijing has drastically improved over the last few years as compared to Delhi. And in India, or in Delhi, 2.2 million children are suffering in Delhi every single day because of air pollution related diseases and sickness. It's a huge problem. I work very closely with Dr. Sandeep Guleria at AIIMS, who's the head of pulmonology over there. Dr. Arvind Kumar, one of the leading lung surgeons of the country. He's worked at AIIMS for about 30 years, and now he's with Sir Gangaram Hospital. And Dr. Arvind Kumar was telling me that that he showed me lungs, and he showed me what healthy pink lungs look like, and he showed me a teenager's lungs who he had operated upon. Huge difference, a healthy pink lung versus a black patchy lung, and that was a non-smoker. That's what we are doing by virtue of just living in this city. We are smoking how many cigarettes every single day, and that's all going into our lungs, and it's causing damage to our lungs, which then eventually leads to harm and damage to other parts of the human body as well. So this is a number that I love to show, because if you look at this, 3.24 milligrams per cubic meter. Some of you who are in the space of atmospheric sciences might know what this means. This is a screenshot of the dust track, which is an EPA approved PM 2.5 measuring device. It's a laser-based sensor which does light scattering, and then it takes the reading of PM 2.5 based on the light scattering method. And on Diwali 2016, the reading I got outside my house in central Delhi was 3.24 milligrams, which is equal to what you typically read in the newspaper, 3,240 micrograms per cubic meter. Your annual safe exposure for PM 2.5 should be under 10 micrograms per cubic meter as per the WHO. Your daily average exposure should be under, I think, 25 micrograms per or 24 micrograms per cubic meter. And these standards in the United States, as they're learning more and more about the health impacts of PM 2.5, they are bringing the standards lower. Earlier it used to be 15 for one particular standard. Now they've brought that 15 down to 12. And does anybody over here know Dr. Joshua Apte? He's with University of Austin, Texas. He teaches air quality over there, and he's one of the leading scientists on air quality in the world. And I was just chatting with him and on WhatsApp the other day, and he was saying that even at 7-8 micrograms per cubic meter of exposure of PM 2.5, it has a huge health impact issue on human health. Here we're talking about numbers that are 3,000. 3,000, okay, is an one day Diwali night, but right through winter, pretty much from October, November, when Diwali happens, all the way until February, the readings in Delhi are hovering between 150 and 500 micrograms per cubic meter, and that 1 week around Diwali typically goes up to 1,000, 1,200, 1,500. Most of the sensors in Delhi will show you 999, and you think, array, it's 999. But it's actually much more than that. I've gotten readings of 1,400 micrograms per cubic meter, 1,800 micrograms per cubic meter during those days when most of the other meters peak at 999. So this is something, that there's two issues related to such high levels of PM. One is long-term high level exposure of PM 2.5 has huge health consequences. But even short term, even 1 day of very high exposure like this can lead to very, very extreme health issues like ischemic heart failure, like stroke. And there's studies done in the United States. There was a study done which in the city of Houston, they have the emergency medical team over there took 8,000 cases of cardiac arrests, and because they have a very good monitoring network across the city of Houston, close to 130 monitoring stations, they had very good data as to what is the air quality in different parts of the city. And 8,000 cases that were reported over a 10 or 11 year period, and they correlated the air quality of that particular location where that person lived when he had the heart attack, when he reported the out of hospital cardiac arrest, the cardiac arrest. And what they found was that just a 6 microgram per cubic meter increase of PM 2.5 over 2 days led to an increased risk of out of hospital cardiac arrest with a peak of 4.4%. So we're talking about a 6 microgram per cubic meter increase leads to slightly higher risk of cardiac arrests. And in Delhi, we're talking about numbers, if your limit is 10, we're talking about numbers right now over here in this room, it will be about 150, 160. Right through the day, we are breathing numbers at 200, 300, and we're completely unaware what this is doing to our human body. So quick, where is this coming from? Some of this is seasonal, some of it is permanent. Seasonal factors are Diwali festival, firecrackers, crop burning in Punjab. It happens twice a year, but the winter crop burning is probably a very drastic one because that's smoke from entire Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh. We are surrounded, Delhi is landlocked by 3 agricultural states, and they are cutting their harvest and then burning their fields pretty much at similar time. So all that pollution during that time, right after harvest, is whether irrespective of which way the wind is blowing, is going to come into Delhi. Then you've got the residential fuel burnings and then temperature inversion, which happens in the November to February months, which I'm sure everybody here knows about. And then the more permanent issues for air pollution are automobile emissions. We are today running at Euro 3 and Euro 4 or Bharat Stage 3 and Bharat Stage 4 fuel in the country, whereas most other Western countries are at Euro grade 6. We have the largest refinery in the world producing Euro grade 6 fuel and exporting it from our own shores, but we don't want to use it for our own population, to save our own population. We'd rather export it, unfortunately. Waste burning is another huge problem. We have landfill capacity in Delhi alone for about 7,000 metric tons per day. Does anybody over here know, or would you like to guess how much waste we produce in the city of Delhi on a single day? Anybody? So we produce about 11,000 tons of waste in a single day. So 4,000 tons more than our landfills can take, and that is burnt. Every single day it is burnt because we just can't handle that much waste. So 4,000 tons of waste is burnt every single day. Where does it go? In the air and in our lungs, and it has huge health consequences for us. And then metro construction and the metro work that's been going on, so construction related to that has a huge issue. And then the brick kilns and industries around, small scale industry that are inside Delhi. We've got the Kumhar colony in Delhi. I've taken videos of Kumhar colony from far away. Right before Diwali for 1 month, because all the diyas and all that are made, all the gods, goddesses that are made of clay, it's all made in the Kumhar colonies, and their kilns, the kilns that they use to make their clay material are fired with sawdust. Most polluting fuel that they can use is sawdust. And that entire one Kumhar colony of 1,000 kilns, 1,000 families pollutes 1/3 of Delhi. A blanket of about 100 meters is covered across that West Delhi region all the way into South Delhi, into the airport, and you can see black smoke of 100 meters just covering it as a blanket. And that's what, and people are, next colony over, people are complaining of huge health issues, bronchitis issues, but people within the Kumhar colony, no, we are absolutely fine, because for them it's their livelihoods. So as a government, we need to take steps to see what can we do to improve their kilns without affecting their livelihoods. We can't we can't say stop doing work, they have to eat. So we have to think of ideas to help them out. And then of course the brick kilns. I don't know if anybody is old enough to know this or not, but all the brick kilns that if you ever drive outside of Delhi, right when you hit the border, you'll start seeing all these brick kilns, and you'll just start seeing a whole silhouette of 100 brick kilns possibly in the scenery, and you'll see all of them spewing little bits of smoke in the background. And earlier, all those brick kilns were just inside the border, inside Delhi, and the High Court over here passed an order for all our brick kilns to be outside Delhi. So all of them said, okay, we have to move. So they went from just inside the border to just outside the border. They moved 100, 200, 300 meters, and now they are outside Delhi. But it has made not much or nearly no difference to the air quality, because moving 300 meters is not going to completely change the air quality shed of Delhi. So this is a map that I like to show. It's actually a very interesting one shared with me by Dr. Joshua Apte. It was a study that they had done. It talks about mortality from PM 2.5 in different parts of India. And you see the Tibetan plateau over there is blue in color. So blue is very good on that scale and red is very poor. So when people ask me, is it safe to go to any other part of India? Delhi is very polluted, but other parts of India are okay. Bombay is okay, Goa is okay. Sorry, it's not. It's not. Where PM 2.5 is concerned, our PM 2.5 concentration in Goa is close to 100, 150. And at 7, 8, we are saying it has health consequences. So how can it be safe? It's not. So there's not a single place that I know of in India that is actually safe from an outdoor air pollution perspective when it comes to PM 2.5. And the Indo-Gangetic Basin especially is the worst, not only from a population density perspective, but even from a pollution perspective. And as you can see, the shed is, it's not just Delhi. People say pollution is a Delhi problem. It actually stretches all the way from Pakistan and goes into Bangladesh. So the air pollution shed is a very, very long shed, and it's an inter-regional issue that we have to deal with. This year in the newspapers, you might have seen Pakistan was complaining that India's crop burning is what is causing the pollution over there. Previously, we were complaining that Pakistan's crop burning is what is causing the pollution over here. So it's not a single city issue, it's not a single state issue, it's not even a single country issue. This is a much larger issue that we have to deal with if we want to look at the long-term health consequences for our population. So health problems, they start at nose and throat infection, which is the easiest one. I used to run marathons. It doesn't look like it anymore. I've put on a lot of weight. But I used to run marathons. I used to go for my training at 3 o'clock in the morning in Delhi. 3 till 5, 3 till 6, 3-hour runs. And I would come back after my long, and this is when I was living in the US, but I used to travel to India every month for work. So I'd be here for 3 days, 4 days, but I still wanted to keep my running practice on. So I would run all my training runs in the US, but I did a few training runs here in Delhi. And in 3 in the morning, I would go for my run, because long runs, 2 or 3 hour runs, you don't want to go in the daytime in India. So 3 in the morning when it's dark, there's nobody on the street, you get your run done and come back. 6 o'clock in the morning, you come back, and half the day, full day after that, you're just coughing black stuff. It's just black stuff coming out constantly for the whole day after a 3-hour run. And I'm like, what is this? Run all day, 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour runs in the US, none of that ever happened with me. Come over here, one run, and it's like constantly black stuff coming out. That's how scary it is. So that's just the first part. So the sneezing, congestion, coughing and wheezing, asthma, throat and ear infection, it just starts to keep getting. So this, I'm still talking only mostly upper respiratory issues. But as you get deeper, it gets respiratory diseases, bronchitis, headaches and lethargy because of air pollution, memory lapses, mild depression and even cancer. I haven't talked over here about stroke. I haven't talked about ischemic heart failure. I haven't talked about lung disease, about kidney failure and liver damage and reproductive system damage. There are enough papers that, enough articles in the paper that came out recently about how children are affected, their brain is impacted because of air pollution, how pregnant mothers are extremely impacted, the newborn fetus is impacted because of air pollution. You'll wonder how. I mean, air is mostly restricted to your lungs and your ears, nose, throat kind of stuff, right? But I'll spend a couple of minutes on explaining this part. PM 2.5 is so small that it's invisible over here, right? And it's so invisible and it's so small that it goes deep into our lungs. And the smaller the particle is, the deeper it goes into our lungs. And once it goes really deep, it goes into our bloodstream. And from the bloodstream, it goes into every organ and causes this damage. Some of these particles are so small that they don't even need to get to our lungs to get to our bloodstream. They cross over our ophthalmic nerve in our nose. The ophthalmic nerve in our nose, the particulates cross over directly across that nerve into our bloodstream and cause havoc in the entire human body. So it's not just your lungs that are impacted. It's not just coughing and those kinds of issues. Your entire human body can be impacted because of air pollution. So this is just a chart. There's a great website called urbanemissions.info. Dr. Sarath Gotikunda from, I believe, from IIT Delhi. He's taught over here. He's taught in IIT Bombay. He's a really great guy, and he's got an amazing website called urbanemissions.info. I pulled this infographic out of his website, basically telling us what is the air pollution conditions in India 1998, 2014, and now 2015. And as you can see, it's only getting worse. You know, we thought that we're trying to do something with the introduction of CNG initially in the early 2000s. It got slightly better, but we lost all the gains of CNG by about 2010, and it only started getting worse again because the number of cars have increased that much more. And in 2015, it got much worse than 2014 also. Where does this come from? What are some of the sources of this pollution? So you can see this is another chart. One of the source apportionment studies that was done by, I believe, IIT Kanpur, Professor Mukesh Sharma over there. So coal burning, 26.1%. We have about 5 or 6 large coal-fired power plants in and around Delhi, within a 50-kilometer radius of Delhi. And the emission stack from coal-fired power plants is very, very huge. And that comes into Delhi, and coal is one of the big factors. Dust, road dust or dust from the Rajasthan deserts is a second factor. Open waste burning, diesel and petrol, that includes not only automobiles but even our diesel gensets. And then biomass burning, and industries play a very small part because Delhi as a city, technically you're not allowed to have any large scale industry in Delhi. It's just a small scale unorganized sector, so that's a smaller part of it. So the opportunity, we talk a little bit about air quality. If you have questions, I'll take them now if there are any specific questions on the technical side of air quality. But moving on to the business side, I wanted to just mention, the idea is just the first step. You can come up with an idea, and I'll tell you the idea that I had in 2012 when I said I want to get into air pollution, I want to help people and build a business around air quality, and what I do today are two completely different things. The main idea is still the same, but what I thought of what I would do and what I do today are very different. And along the journey, I think I've changed multiple times. The course of what I have had to do based on market feedback and based on what makes sense has changed over a period of time multiple times. And every year you kind of morph and change as an organization and as a business to try and achieve the desired results. What does the customer want? You've got to be very, very careful, very critical. Keep your ears to the ground and understand what is it that the customer wants. That's how you can build a business. Engineering, technology, idea, great, but execution is 98% of the battle. Idea is just the beginning. It's all about execution. If there's one thing I can probably tell anybody over here with all my experience, I've probably started up about 6 different companies, all of them at different stages today, or sold one and moved on with a couple of others. Execution, execution, execution. That's where any business can break or make it based on execution. Breathe Easy in its last 5 years is probably India's largest full service indoor air quality solution provider. We have a team of only 40 people. but very aggressive plans over the next few years to grow into Mumbai, to grow into international operations. We've just got a client in Mexico City. So we're setting up an office in the United States to service the Mexico client. We've got potential clients coming up right now in China, because these are large multinational companies who work with us over here. They've had a good experience, and then they say, can you do work for us in our Mexico office, in our Shanghai office, because they know they have problems over there because of air pollution in those cities as well. So slowly this is going to become a much larger international global operation, and there is a huge opportunity when it comes to air quality. So what is our goal? We help people breathe clean and fresh air indoors. Simple. Keep it simple. This is our goal. We help people breathe clean air inside. And there's a huge problem, right? Today we have mothers who call us and say, my child's got very high asthma. My child is falling sick every single day. They are on nebulizers. And then once we provide the right solution for them, they come back and they say the use of the inhaler has come down. Asthma attacks have come down. Dr. Trehan from Medanta will call us for his patients with pulmonary fibrosis. And we put in very technical, very intense solutions for their homes. And I get a call back a few weeks after that saying, where were you 3 years ago? Why didn't I find you when this problem happened? The conditions are much, much, much better today. So it actually has an impact. By removing the pollutants that you're breathing, you can actually improve the quality of your life. We are talking about people who have sickness, but even if you are not sick, at the end of the day, you are actually damaging your lungs without realizing what you're doing to it. You may not be feeling the effects of it today, but it will actually show up a few years from now. So this is Dr. Arvind again. He said, God has given us 70% more lung capacity than what we need. He's given us 2 of every organ, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, except the heart and the tongue. I think there's 2 of pretty much everything for a reason. 1 heart and 1 tongue is enough. But same thing, 2 lungs. And he says there's 70% more lung capacity than what you need. And for most people, most healthy people, till 70% of that lung gets damaged, you don't feel the consequence of air pollution on the body. But once 70% gets damaged, it's not reversible. And then you are fighting for life. So the question is very simple. Do you want to, if you are aware of that, you know that this is actually continuously, it's accumulating in your lungs, and you know that you can actually do something to stop it temporarily for yourself, and long term we can do something from a city perspective to stop it. Why aren't we doing whatever it takes to help ourselves and then eventually help the city? If we can reduce our exposure to particulate matter and other pollutants, we can actually delay or even eliminate the probability of major lung disease and other organ diseases in our body. So moving on. So the Breathe Easy model, very quickly I wanted to show there's really a testing service that we have. So that forms the base of our organization. We use some of the best equipment in the field, EPA approved equipment for measuring air quality. So we go to clients' homes and offices and facilities and we measure the air quality. Once we know how bad the air quality is, then we come up with design and solutions on what can be done to fix the air quality. And there are 2 parts of the business over there. On the left side, there's the portable solutions. A lot of people can't do centralized air conditioning, like you see ducting work over here in the grills. That's not possible in all apartments, right? People live in smaller apartments, they've got a bedroom or 2. What do? So there's a portable solutions business. We have plants which actually help in improving air quality from a plant's perspective. Carbon dioxide and VOCs are reduced. And we've got machines like air purifiers that can actually improve the air quality in one single room. We also sell masks. If you're outside going for a morning walk, people go for morning walks thinking it's the best time of the day to go for a walk. It's actually the worst. So when I go for a walk in the morning, I actually wear a mask and walk in the morning. People look at me going, I think he might be sick. I look at them and say, they're not wearing a mask, they are going to fall sick. So lots of solutions on the portable side. And then on the right side is our central solutions business, which is essentially evaluation, consulting. We do green building design consulting. We do evaluation of air quality and systems, existing systems. And we execute full projects to improve the air quality for a building. So if this was a centrally air-conditioned building and you wanted clean air in the entire building, we would take it on as a project and give you perfectly clean air inside over here. We've done the American Embassy School, we've done the German school, we've done the British school, now we're working on the French school, we've done a part of Select City Walk Mall, we're working on some other part of it. So some pretty large projects. In fact, the largest air quality projects in the country have probably all been done by us today. We're working with some of the biggest international banks, some of the largest law firms in the country, some hospitals, a whole bunch of other malls are now wanting to do it after they've realized that one is doing it, everybody else wants to do it, they don't want to be left behind. The five-star hotels, I'm sure you must have read, the Oberoi was closed for 2 years, it just reopened recently, and they've been talking about clean air. So that's another project that we were behind the scenes in and helping them understand what needs to be done. So a lot of these newer facilities, a lot of people are understanding. And the reason why these people are getting pushed actually at the end of the day is business also. It's not just we want to spend money, it's business. I've had the head of health at the World Bank come to me and ask me, which hotels in India have clean air? And my answer to them was, not a single one today. And there's only one that is working towards it. And they said, the moment you know which one does, let us know. We will mandate every single person coming from the World Bank in Washington, D.C. or traveling to India from anywhere around the world to stay in only those hotels which have clean air. H&M, everybody heard of H&M, the big store in the malls? The head of H&M India calls me and said, right when they set up their first office, their first employee and head of India comes and says, which mall in India has clean air? I said, there's only one mall that I've started talking to, the others are completely oblivious. They opened their first store in that mall. So people are making business decisions now based on where are they getting clean air. People are sending their kids to school based on do they have clean air or not. So it's not only from a health, of course it's more of a health issue, but it's also a business, it's driving business for people by doing the right thing. So this is very quickly in terms of our central business. There's a whole consulting arm, there's a configuration arm, and there's a maintenance arm. So the execution happens right through it, and then we maintain all our projects that we run. And our portable solutions, like I said, we've got sensors, we've got masks, we've got air purifiers, we do replacement filters, car air purifiers, and plants. Plants are actually a big part of what we do. We have our own nursery, we provide greenhouses as part of our central solution, or we provide individual plants into rooms for bedrooms also. So there are different kinds of plants that give different benefits. So there are 3 specific plants that we sell, and this is a lot of research that has been done in the background. The first one is the money plant, the one that you see over there. It's a great plant at removing formaldehyde and VOCs. The second plant is the areca palm. It's a great plant at giving oxygen during the daytime. And the third plant is the sansevieria, or also called the snake plant, also called the mother-in-law's tongue. And that's a great plant at giving oxygen at night. So this is, please correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a plant which is more of a desert plant. So you have to stress it out a little bit in terms of watering. You have to give very little water. If you overwater it, it actually stops giving oxygen in the day and it starts changing its biology and becoming a day plant. So if you stress it out like in a desert environment, then it actually, because in the desert it's so hot in the day, it closes its pores so it doesn't lose all its water, and at the night it opens up and it releases the oxygen. So same thing with this plant. If you stress it, it does the opposite of most other plants, and it gives us oxygen at night. So it's a great bedroom plant. You want to keep 6 to 8 at least waist high plants in your bedroom per person if you want to see the CO2 levels come down even to a measurable level. So to give you real numbers, carbon dioxide in my bedroom without any plants and without any fresh air coming from outside, all windows and doors closed, goes up to about 2,400 parts per million, 2 people sleeping in that room. Outdoor CO2 is 400 parts per million. So, and up till now the standard used to say 1,100 parts per million of CO2 is what is acceptable. But new studies, I was with Professor Joe Allen at Harvard a couple of weeks ago, and he's come up with a new study. You should look it up. It's called the COG-FX study, COG-FX study. Just Google COG-FX study and you'll get it. He was talking about how even at 800 parts per million of CO2, cognitive ability in human beings drastically reduces. So they're recommending now carbon dioxide levels to be even lower than 800 parts per million. So there's a huge challenge in doing that. When you've got an office, let's just take this conference room. How many people are a little drowsy over here? Hopefully it's not because I'm boring. But high levels of carbon dioxide in a space like this will actually slow your brain down and it'll put you into a drowsy mode. That's what CO2 does to you. And it reduces your cognitive ability. Test scores in a test conducted with at 800 parts per million of CO2 were nearly 50% lower as compared to lower CO2 levels. Huge impact. Imagine boardrooms. If you don't have good quality air, what kind of decisions will people take? Classrooms, if you don't have good quality air from a CO2 and PM perspective, what kind of test results can you achieve possibly? So a quick glimpse at our office. This is Paharpur Business Center. It's about a 50,000 square feet building. We have close to, oops, I didn't update that, sorry. 1200 is a very old number. We now have close to 5,000 indoor plants inside our building. Rated as the healthiest building in Delhi by the Central Pollution Control Board, Government of India, and it's been tested by Lawrence Berkeley National Labs also as good healthy air. They said they couldn't write anything more than that, but they said compared to all buildings that they've tested around the world, this was on the top, one of the top buildings that they've tested from an air quality perspective around the world. And we also use 30% less energy compared to most other commercial buildings. In fact, it's probably more than 30% with the solar power generation that we're doing. We're the first BEE 5-star rated building from an energy consumption perspective. So just to give you an idea, today we're running at under 20 watt hours per hour per meter square. Most other commercial buildings are between most other green buildings are between 50 and 70 watt hours per hour per meter square. And most non-green buildings are between 75 and 100 watt hours per hour per meter square. So we are about 30% of the energy of normal standard buildings. In the media, we've been covered, as you can see, starting from the New York Times to National Geographic to CNN to BBC to NPR to CNBC. In India, most of the Indian newspaper channels, magazines, television coverage, a lot of people have covered us because air is such an important issue today. It's talked about by everyone, and there's not very many people doing that much work in the air quality space. And it's not this business for the last 5 years. The story is really a 27-year-old story when it started with Mr. Mittal when he was on the board of IIT Delhi that I told you a little while back. So that 27-year-old story has been covered enough times across the media that it has not only helped the business because that kind of drives awareness, it drives more confidence in the consumer to say, yes, these people are okay and they're doing what is right and needs to be done. Just corporate social responsibility, something I'm very, very, very passionate about. Even though we're a very small organization in the scheme of things, 1% of our profits is donated to NGOs that work on air quality in Delhi and NCR. So there's one called Care for Air, which I'm a co-founding partner of. Some of it goes there. There are other organizations that anybody who does work on air quality for an ambient air quality outside, not indoor. Indoor is a business. Outside is something that we need to fix. You know, I'm a strong believer that we cannot live in bubbles forever indoors. We have to be able to create environments where we can interact with nature and be outside. And for that, we have to fix the air outside. And whatever steps and these are long-term measures that need to be taken by the government to fix the air outside. And it's going to take time. But if we don't start now, it'll never actually happen. So there's lots that needs to be done. One small step, if we can ignite that fire and start it at least, it's the one right step in the right direction. So that's the presentation. I'd open it up. Hopefully that's not too long, and open it up for questions. Thank you.